Never. Okay. I always lose the record button for some reason. The button never moves. It's just I can never find it. All right. So for tonight's call, I just wanted to. What was I watching? Oh, I was watching in the Lift 4 coach group, Amy Rada's call with or interview with Joel, and she talked a lot about as usual, hi Jan. Talked a lot about just sharing your story and writing out your story, and then going through and finding ties to Beachbody, or like, you know, how you can relate Beachbody to your life, because it's essentially what you're going to be sharing about, because then you have this whole story of you, and then you can pull pieces of that like in your posts and stuff. So you're basically like creating content. And so tonight I thought it would be really helpful to like have a functional call and just take out like either on your laptop or just like a notebook or something, and just write, like we'll spend like 10 or 15 minutes just writing out what is the story of Kate, what is the story of Naomi. We don't need to like talk about it, but just write out your story, and then we'll spend like 10 minutes just like going through and pulling. Like Naomi, today your post was so freaking good. Like Scarlett had her picture and she was like, this is going to take me so long.
Your
turn. She was like, this is going to take me so long. But then, you know, you tied that into coaching and like made that your post. Like that stuff is so relatable, because other people with kids, they know the struggle of their child getting overwhelmed. Like they understand what it feels like. So when we know our story, it gives us confidence, but then it also gives us content too, because sometimes that's like the hardest part. Like, you know, we're busy throughout the day and we're just like, oh my gosh, what do I even have to post about right now? But when we get into the mindset of like searching for how to relate our life to our posts or to coaching or to our challenges or whatever, then it becomes just kind of second nature to be like in the back of your head thinking like, what kind of value can I share from this right now? Or what lesson am I learning? Or whatever. Or what part of my day can I share with my audience because they know this struggle? And so how can I show them that even through this, or even during that, or whatever, they can do this too? Does that make sense? So I just want to like today to just kind of go through and write out your story. Like, what is the story of what's not, you don't have to go like super, super detailed, but just like, you know, are you a parent? Are you married? Are you whatever? What are your struggles? What have you overcome? Things like that. And then you'll go through and I'm going to do this right alongside you guys too. But then you'll go through and like pull out things of, okay, clearly I'm a busy mom. So working out at home, Beachbody on Demand, like finding pieces of the things that we do that make sense to our story. And then we can use that later on in our posts. So I know, Kate, you're kind of not in the spot to be writing stuff, but if you just used your notes in your phone or something, just type out, you know, the story of you. So I'm going to just pull up a document, and we can just do this like right here with each other. Because if this is one of those things where we'll say, I'll do it later, and then we just don't make time for it. So
did you mean, I have a question. You probably already said it, but my brain is like, I don't know if I caught on. You mean like telling our story, like where we're at right now? Not like our whole life story, obviously, but starting when?
I mean, whenever, like, so my story would be just right off the bat, because I haven't really written this out at all, but when I should have, my story would be like, I don't know. I mean, right now it depends on how vulnerable you want to get to, but my story might be like growing up with, you know, I felt like I was an ugly duckling compared to some of my friends. I was super like straight A student in school, but still felt like I wasn't good enough, or, you know, lived in New York, moved to South Carolina. I was out of my comfort zone. Married. I'm just trying to pull stuff out, but
Yeah.
just this like doesn't have to be like your autobiography right now, but just like a general outline of your life, because that's going to get your brain thinking of where have I come from, and just getting familiar with yourself, because sometimes we're like, cool, I'm just Alyssa, like what do I have to share that could make a difference to somebody? But it's like there's a lot of people that have maybe wanted to move out of state, or that have moved out of state and were super scared. And for me, having the community like online, even if I don't know a whole ton of people here aside from the people I used to work with, I still have like, I never feel alone really, because I have this community to plug into all the time. So you might not be able to comb out every single thing that you can relate to coaching at this, you know, during this exercise, but at least it'll give you a jump off point. So let me pull up an empty document. And it might be hard too, because it's like, when have you ever sat down to write out your own story? You know, it's not something we ever do. So it might feel hard and like awkward, but just think of like, these are your future posts that you're talking about. So why don't I let's see, I'll set a timer for like 15 minutes.
I'm getting old, baby.
You are.
It just worked out, and my arms hurt so bad that I can't even hold them up to type anymore. It hurts.
I feel like so far week 3 has had me the most sore. I don't know what it is, like maybe just upping the weights and stuff, but
I just did day 2, so it's those like back to back to back. I forget what they're called, but like the 4 exercises in a row. So it's like so much lifting.
Yeah, armpits hurt really bad. Like right here.
Yeah. I know I'm not doing the same program, but because I'm in peak week, they change it up, you know?
Oh my gosh, Naomi, you're almost done.
Right here, and then all down my forearm, I guess it is.
Let me see those guns.
Huh?
Let me see those guns. Oh, snap.
I know, I've never had arms like this in my life. I'm like, and I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, like these workouts. Huh?
That's what happens. I bet your butt looks fantastic.
I'll spare you the.
You don't have to stand up and show us. I trust you.
I'm not going to. Don't worry. But I'm just like, I never had toned arms. Like, even when I was like my smallest weight, it's just like, it doesn't look good, you know, like you want the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, my arms are sore too. How are you doing, Adrian?
Okay. Hanging in there.
Good.
Feel better since I made myself work out. I'm eating like a Shakeology ice cream, so you know, living my
So
best.
good.
This Wednesday night.
I just made like Shakeology cookie dough, and it was so good.
That sounds good.
Post the recipe for that in the group.
Okay.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, such a good idea. I always forget that you can do that.
Yeah.
I've been putting scoops of Shakeology in my son's pancakes in the morning because he doesn't eat anything.
Oh.
Extra protein.
What do you have you ever? Well, I guess Bailey's a little young, Alyssa, but the Daily Sunshine is so expensive. But I wish I could get it, but I can't really afford that right now.
Bailey just drinks Shakeology.
Yeah.
Georgia drinks Shakeology.
I was just afraid of the caffeine in it. I know it's not a lot, but my kids already have a hard time sleeping, so I'm like, the last thing they need is caffeine. But if you guys have never noticed, you've never noticed anything?
No.
I've given it to Hannah before, and she's a peanut, so.
Yeah, Georgia's only 1, so fine. I mean, still sleeps a lot.
What's your son's birthday?
Mine?
Whose?
Oh, sorry, Adrian.
My son is 5.
Oh, who's 1?
Georgia. One of
Oh.
my daughters. I have 3 kids.
Oh, that's right.
All right, how do you guys feel about your stories? Do you have a decent start so far? Because I think it would be helpful to like just go through and just look through it and just like identify where you can tie in. Like look for, I'll give you an example. For example, when I was in high school, I dabbled in sports. I played softball. I played the local town soccer team. I think that's kind of it. But I'm not like a super athletic person. But coaching works for me because I don't have to be a personal trainer. I don't have to like be an expert in all of this stuff because I have the trainers that create the stuff for us. So I don't have to go into a gym and guess what I have to do. but I have these resources of people that are trained in this, and me as a coach, I get to, you know, use these resources, but then also help other people that also have no idea what they're doing in a gym. So just looking at your story like that, and you know, finding things that you can turn into, you know, relating your story to coaching. Or does that make sense? I feel like I keep repeating what I'm saying to try to clarify it, but it's just repeating the same thing. Is it confusing? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I try to over explain.
I feel like I feel like this is helpful for like new ideas, because I feel like I talk a lot about like, not recently because I haven't been talking about jack shit recently, but like usually I'm talking about like my kids, or like they're like working out with me, like when I post my workouts or whatever. But I feel like I need to like reach a larger audience than just mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to look at my
deeper.
stuff of like, my life is so like, because I have 3 kids that are 5 and under, like my life is all about being a mom. So I'm trying to like find things that are, I don't know.
Yeah, so go to like before you were a parent. Like, what were your dreams and goals, and what were your hobbies like? It's like for me, I literally never have talked about the fact that I played softball and stuff, that I'm not an athletic person. But that's a brand new post idea. What else? I'm like terrible at thinking of it.
I wanted to talk about how like I didn't like growing up. I didn't really like learn how to eat great either. Like I even struggled with weight issues at like 10 and stuff. But I don't know how to like formulate it so it relates to now.
Are you doing 2B Mindset?
Okay, now you have 2B Mindset.
I mean, I have this stuff, but I haven't really given it a try yet. I've just been like, I was doing 80-day obsession and now lift 4, and the containers have always worked for me. So I guess I'm not like really motivated to, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I feel like it would really be helpful for you just to even like know what the product is, but going through some of the videos, because she is like, that's Alana's jam, is like she struggled with weight her entire life, and she's found something sustainable that works for her, but then also works for like hundreds of clients too. And so that's something that you can talk to, you know, when you're ready to relate it back to, you know, your own story. Because a lot of the stuff that we're going to be digging out over time is going to might feel challenging to talk about, because it digs deeper than just surface level stuff that we feel like is easier to talk about every day. So this is like the kind of stuff that gives you depth in your posts and makes you even more relatable, because I mean, how many moms are out there on Instagram, you know? Like, there's so many of us, but what makes you stand apart from somebody else is the stuff that you share about in your story. So, you know, we don't have to like break down every single point, but just start thinking like subjectively, or whatever that objectively word is. When you think about yourself, you're more than just a mom. You're more than just a wife. You're more than, you know, you are you. And so really just remembering who you are and what you are all about kind of makes the whole process easier, because you're like, this is me. This is my life. I'm just going to share my life. And this works for me because X, Y, and Z. Like being a dog mom to 2 crazy pit bulls, like to me that feels like the equivalent of 3 kids most evenings. And I could talk about that, and other dog moms will relate to that because they know how crazy their animals can be too. So what are some things in your stuff that you guys feel like you could pull?
I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I don't talk about because I feel like, what's it called? Like clickbait. But like, that's some crazy crap that's happened in my life. Like, crazy. Sounds like I make up a lot in my life because I don't even know what to talk about sometimes. Like, the craziness that's happened in my life. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know who I was before I was a mom. I did a lot of really heavy drinking. Like, should I talk about that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if that's
at
if
a
you're comfortable with
fraternity
it, but
party, like, I don't know what to talk. Like, what?
you can, dude. How many people relate to their college days of I used to be such a heavy drinker, and you
I mean,
know,
because it was all about like social anxiety and trying to fit in, and I wasn't being
dude,
who
like
I could talk about that. I don't usually talk about that, but like I was a really heavy drinker because I didn't fit in. I went to this all girls school where everyone had a ton of money and I didn't, and it was awful. I guess I could talk about that. No,
Yeah.
ever talk about it.
that's some good stuff right there. Like, Adrian, you have like a gold mine of posts in that brain right there.
I grew up in the military. I went to a different school every year till I was a sophomore in high school. I got bullied hardcore because I got boobs in middle school. Got a lot of stuff.
And I guarantee you that you're not the only one with like things. So the thing with posting too, it's like sometimes we feel like, well, this is way too specific and crazy for my life. And then we think, well, nobody's going to relate to that anyway, so I'm not going to talk about it. But whenever you're reading somebody else's posts, how often do you not read it and relate it back to your own life? Like, it's not even something that we're really aware of. Like, we read something and, somebody had a super embarrassing day and we're just like, we picture ourselves in that situation, And so when people are reading your stuff, they're doing the same thing. So, like I was saying earlier, Adrian, I don't know if you saw Naomi's post yet, but she posted a picture that Scarlett colored in, and Scarlett was like, this is going to take me so long. And Naomi was like, just focus on one piece at a time. And Naomi related it back to coaching and how it's just don't focus on the end goal all the time, but just focus on the next step. Like, what do you need to do next? And when I read that, like, I thought about my journey in coaching. And if other parents read that have kids that are around that age too, they're picturing their kids struggling and what they would say. And you know what I mean? So it's like we get in our own way and we think that it's really all about us all the time. But even when we're sharing our story, it's still not about us. We're sharing it with purpose. Yeah, and it's just really just so much bigger than us. Naomi, what else? What part of your story would you pull out?
I feel like
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
no, it's okay. I don't think I really know yet. I mean, there's probably different things. I'm not even close to finishing what I would write if I was finishing my story. I feel like I only got part way, but like I have a lot of things I haven't talked. Obviously, we all do stuff that we haven't talked about, but like that I have thyroid disease and just I like used to always go in and out of different forms of exercise. Like I was like my whole family is super like I come from a crazy athletic family, so we were kind of like made to exercise, not made, strongly encouraged to exercise, which is really good. But there was kind of always that pressure of like, okay, you didn't go like run around. And like, my siblings, like half of them have been professional athletes. And I'm the only one that actually hasn't like raced at a professional level. But long story short, it's like, I think I finally found what works for me, I guess. Because I used to, I've done track, did gymnastics, did like a ton of different things like that, but it just was never really like running. I never push myself because I just didn't care enough. But I feel like I pushed myself with this. And I don't know if it's because of coaching or just because I want it bad enough or what. But
Yeah, dude, that is, you guys, seriously, this was a great exercise because I'm just like, I'm learning more about you guys, but also like, do you guys see like that there's so much more, there's so much about you that makes you valuable to other people? Like so much of your journey in your life that's just like, when you put it out there, it might be scary, and some of these things that you might write down are like, holy crap, I'm not ready to talk about that yet, and that's okay. But the more vulnerable we get, and I talked to Micah about this the other day too, because I was like, I need a one-on-one because I'm like struggling right now with how do I stay authentic and vulnerable without oversharing, because I feel like I'm a sharer, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm having a really bad day, but I don't really want to explain why. And it makes you feel like disingenuous if you don't tell people why. So there's like that balance of, you can have a hard day, but Micah explained it to me of like, so when you have those rough days, lean in, figure out what brings you joy in this business and, you know, what you do every day. And then if you're, when you're doing your PD, find something intentional about your PD that says, sorry, I just got a message. That relates to what you're going through, and share that, but you don't have to be like, and this is why, but just share it for other people to see and to relate to their own life. So especially Adrian, like if you're going through rough times, you don't have to like straight up, make social media your diary unless you want it to be. But sharing that you're going through a rough time too is almost, for me, it might be different for you, but it's kind of therapeutic for me to be like, okay, this was not a good day, but here is how I can manage it or turn it around or whatever. Instead of just being like, it was a bad day. But like share with purpose, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like 30 minutes was definitely not enough time for this. But do you think that was helpful, you guys, or was that just a big old waste of time?
Helpful.
no, it was helpful.
At least to get the gears turning.
Yeah.
I kind of did mine in like a list format, so I have like a list of things.
Yeah, mine
Made
too.
like categories and like a list.
And I
I
feel
missed
like,
part of like what you said to do, so I just made a list.
yeah, like whenever you're just randomly in the middle of something too, maybe keep this list as like an ongoing thing. And as you think of things, just add to it, because then you can, if you're planning out your posts for the week, or if you have a day where you're like, what the heck do I even talk about? Just go back to your list and then use that to help you brainstorm, because there's a lot more to us than wife, mom, Beachbody coach,
Yeah.
so.
You know what else I just thought of that I've been telling people that I'm inviting to coaching is like telling them that they have a story to tell. Because that's what I see when I get to know them and I talk to them more. I'm like, you would be so good at this because you have a big story to tell. And like that can really encourage other people.
Yep.
Like Ashley O'Brien, you wouldn't believe the stuff that she's been through. And she told me, I don't know if I told you, she was like, we don't have the money. So I just said, encourage the coaching, but she had 6 miscarriages. 6.
It's so hard.
Like, yeah. And like two of them were twins at like 12 weeks. So it's just like, sorry, did that go through?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if she would want me sharing that with you. She didn't like say not to tell anyone, but I was just thinking like she has an insane, and that's like that's not even that, she has so much more that's like happened in her life. But I was just thinking that women can relate to that and like inspire so many people with just what she's been through. She's been through a lot of medical stuff. So anyways.
And I feel like when we're telling, like, just putting myself in her shoes, if, I don't know, sometimes I go back and forth. I'm like, is it overwhelming for me to say you have an awesome story to tell? Or is it, because sometimes I feel like we need to also be sharing, like, I love that you're saying that, but like, I feel like we should also be saying, you do a good job of this in your posts, but saying like, I share because, you know, every time I feel like, you know, every time you post, like at the end of it, you're just like relating it back to the person that's reading it. You ask a question or whatever. But saying I'm not sharing my struggles just to like air my stuff, but I'm sharing to show you that we all have a story and we can all help each other. And, you know, I don't know. There's like probably 30 seconds
That
left.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I guess, showing them that it's for a greater purpose and not just like people need to hear your stuff, but like, no, people need to hear you so that they know that they're not alone, you know? And then that gives us a sense of purpose, and everybody needs that.
Yeah. That just brought it around full circle.
Yes. That's the point I was trying to make. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, it's literally about to cut off, so I'll post the recording, but thanks for